So we'll get the session recorded and we'll send you out the recording and also the slides. Hi, Alan in the Gold Coast. How are you doing? Anthea's also in Queensland in Australia. Hi, O'Neill in Calgary. Henry, another one connecting from New Zealand. So that's cool to know where you're from, guys. Stephen in California, how are you doing? All right, let's get into today's session. So I'm going to launch a little poll before we get started, because this is something I talk to people from all over the world about marketing, and the word niche, or as a lot of Americans say, niche, or I've even heard niche. I'm interested to how you say that. So we're going to launch a quick poll of how you say niche. So I've sort of written them as I think phonetically it gets said. So I say niche, that's how I got brought up, but I think a lot of people say it in different ways. So we're going to find out what are the most popular ways it's said. I'm just going to run that. So let's get into today's session. So what we're going to be covering is why you should niche your marketing. I know you've been talked about this a lot from different places, but I'm going to talk about really specifically in terms of marketing. I'm going to give you some real world examples, because I think that's the most powerful thing, is if you see real Xero partners and what they have done in terms of niche marketing. We're going to take a little look at a niche website. So the things that I think work really well in terms of niche marketing on a website. Really excited to invite you to join a new Xero marketing community. So you'll see that logo at the bottom, Marketing for Xero Partners. I'm going to tell you a bit more about that at the end of the session. I'm going to invite you to join that. And then I'll stick around at the end for a Q&A. So any questions you've got, use the Q&A panel. I might answer them as we go along, but I'll definitely answer them when we get to the end of the session. So I'm just going to end that poll and share the results with you. So niche, as I say it, 90% of you say that. We've got niche as 10%, might reflect the geographical spread of who's connecting today, but that's interesting. So for those who don't say niche, which I'm going to say, I apologize, but you know what I'm talking about. Cool. All right, let's get into today's session. So before we do that, a bit about me. If you don't know, my name is Matt Wilkinson, and I am the founder and CEO of Biz Inc. Now, we were going to have Gayatri Wood on the session with us today. Unfortunately, she's not well, so I'm wishing her a speedy recovery. I'm actually a little bit under weather myself, so I apologize if there's the odd sniffle and I don't sound my usual self. But yeah, so you're stuck with me, and unfortunately, Gayatri can't join. Now, I am the founder and CEO of Biz Inc., as I mentioned, and we've helped since 2013 when we launched. We've helped several hundred Xero partners across the world with their websites and marketing. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today, that real world experience that we've had of helping Xero partners. So I'm sure you've heard people saying to you, whether that's like, Xero, like a XeroCon event or a roadshow or something like that, or different coaches and consultants, that you should niche your firm. Now, what I'm talking about here, I'm not saying you need to niche your whole firm. I really, whether you want to do that or not, I obviously run a niche business, so I do believe in that, but I think it's really important to niche your marketing. Because a phrase I often say is that if you're marketing to everybody, you're marketing to nobody. It's really hard to differentiate. So to kind of illustrate that, rather than just going straight into examples of accounting and bookkeeping firms, I wanted to give you an example that's outside of the accounting and bookkeeping profession, because I think that can sometimes really help, right? We're so close to what we do every day that it can be hard to see the wood for the trees sometimes. So I'm going to give you a little kind of mental exercise to do. And what it is, I want you to imagine that I've hired you to do some selling for me. I've hired you as my salesperson, and I've got 2 different businesses, and you can choose to do selling for one or other of these businesses. So the first one of these businesses is Biz Inc. And so, we're a company that specializes in websites and marketing for accountants and bookkeepers. That's what we do. So obviously, BizInc's a real company. The other one, which I've made up for the purposes of this webinar, is WILKO'S Websites and Marketing. And that's a company that does websites and marketing with any type of businesses. Take anyone who comes through, we'll build them a website, we'll help them with marketing. So I've hired you to sell for me, and I want you to get me 20 new clients before the end of March. So at the end of this, I want you to tell me which company you'd prefer to do the selling for if you had to get me 20 new clients before the end of March. So let's look at first WILKO'S Websites and Marketing. Their target market, like I said, is anyone at all. They'll work with anybody. But that sounds good, right? You know, we've got the whole world to go at, but you know, where do we start with that? Like, where do we advertise? Where do we post on social media? Who do we send emails to? You know, our prospects are everywhere. And instead of being an advantage of all this kind of abundance, it's actually really difficult because we can't narrow down who we really want to speak to. And then, you know, when even if we could work out where to do the marketing, what would we be promoting? So, you know, if we sell websites and marketing, there's all kinds of websites and marketing, from things like a simple brochure website through to a complex e-commerce website. So what would we be promoting in our marketing? Would it be the simple thing, the complex thing? You know, do we say we're just a jack of all trades? So that makes the messaging really hard. The messaging that we're putting out in our marketing, you know, it's either going to be really confused or really vague. And then even if we got some leads with this business, you know, how do we work out if they're a good fit? You know, if we can take on anybody, it's like it's different every time. So, you know, even if we got through to a sales meeting, you know, how do we price that customer? What proposals we'll be sending? It's bespoke, it's custom every single time. So although, you know, you'd think, well, okay, we can sell to anyone, actually quite a hard job. And yeah, I've done this myself in the late 2000s. I had my own agency doing websites and marketing for a range of different businesses, and I didn't like doing it at all. It was really hard to sort of work out where to win new clients, and every job was quite different. So contrast that with BizInc. You know, we know exactly who our target marketers. It's small tech savvy accountants and bookkeepers. A lot of them are Xero partners. You know, we market, where do we do our marketing? Well, where you guys hang out, we go to things like XeroCon, or we go to events that you're at. We go to the places on social media. We know what to do. And our product then is 100% focused on those pain points. We've got, you know, a small set of products that's really focused on what accountants and bookkeepers want. And then that means that our messaging as well can be really focused on that stuff too. And, you know, we talked about pricing and proposals. Again, our pricing is then standardized. We're not quoting every single job, and that makes it much more efficient and makes it less chance of us like misquoting and losing money. So I'm just going to run a quick poll. You know, if it were you and you wanted to sell, yeah, I'd hired you to sell for me. Which would you rather sell for? Would you rather sell for like WILKO'S websites, where you can sell to anyone in the world, but you know, we don't know, you know, we've got no kind of focus there at all, or BizInc, where, you know, we know exactly who we're selling to, and yeah, we're totally focused. Now I know most of you don't probably. Sales is a dirty word, but I didn't give the option of you can't do it, so you got to choose one. And you know, 100% you would choose BizInc, right? Oh, I know one wants WILKO'S websites. I knew there'd be one. So you know, for me, whether you take BizInc as the example or any other business that's a specialist, it just makes things way easier. So I just share those results with you, because in advanced economies like we're in, people prefer a specialist. And that's what niche marketing is. It's about positioning yourself as a specialist, not a generalist. So before we get into the real examples of Xero Partners, I just wanted to talk about what I think are the main benefits of niche marketing. So number one is focus. Focus is important in whatever you do, and in marketing, where I know you guys haven't got a lot of time to do marketing. You don't want to waste your time. So focusing on only the prospects and leads that you want is really important. Appeal. So what I mean by that is, by having a strong appeal to a smaller group, you're going to have much more powerful marketing. By trying to appeal to everybody, your appeal is naturally much weaker. The next thing is what we call it building the prospect map. And that's basically that once you niche your marketing, you know exactly where your prospects are. You can work out where they hang out in real life, in events and conferences, or online on social media. You can find directories of different industries. It becomes much easier to find out where your leads are. In terms of proposals and pricing, you're offering the same thing pretty much to lots of different prospects, and that saves time. It reduces that chance of under or over quoting. It makes things a lot more efficient. And I think the final benefit is you start to build the firm you really want. I went into business because you want to set some of the rules, right? You want to dictate where you want to go, and it makes sense to me that you only should be working with people who you want to work with. So by choosing a niche, and we'll see shortly how trying to align something with a niche with something you're passionate about is really important. You get to build the firm that you really want. So, like I'd repeat it again, marketing to everybody is marketing to nobody. I don't think you need to niche your whole firm, but you do need to niche your marketing. So let's take a look at some actual Xero partners who've done that, and the benefits, and some advice that they can give you about it. So first example is Aguilard Accounting. So Aguilard Accounting is a firm run by Amanda Aguilard, based in New Orleans. And particularly in the US, Amanda's really well known in the Xero ecosystem the Xero ecosystem. She was a Xero ambassador for a while. Yes, she's really known in the Xero ecosystem. And Aguilard Accounting, their niche is law firms, so law firm accounting. Now, if that doesn't make her busy enough, she also heads up something called Elephant Training. So a couple of links Anthony's going to post in the chat. One to Aguilard Accounting, and the other one, Elephant Training, which really worth checking out if you're looking for some particularly like Xero training. There's a bunch of stuff on there as well. But I asked Amanda how she chose a niche, and this is a question we often get asked from people who are still on the fence with doing this. And what she told me about how she chose her niche was that one of her first clients she set up as a CPA was a law firm, and she realized this was like a profitable market. There was definitely some good business out there, but there were very few advisors who really understood it. So she took the time to learn about law firm and trust accounting, and that's paid her back very well over time, as she's really kind of carved out a reputation as an expert in that niche. So I asked her, what she thought of the benefits of focusing on a niche were, and she gave this, and I thought this is awesome. That as an accountant, she gave me a little kind of formula here. So it's efficiency and workflow plus higher fees equals bigger margins, and who wouldn't want that? Now, another question we're often asked is, if we niche our marketing, what about businesses in other industries? Like if we get referrals, what about our existing clients? And so, I asked her about that. Does she also work with businesses in other industries? And she said, yeah, but mostly in the professional services space, some real estate brokerages, and both of these actually have a lot of in common with law firms. So we're going to see this trend is that, definitely you don't have to niche your whole firm, but it kind of makes sense that, if you really want to focus on one core niche, that, that marketing those skills will also translate into other similar industries. So in terms of tactics she uses to reach law firms, industry events, lunch and learns, bar associations, word of mouth. You probably noticed there is that, not much digital marketing, not any digital marketing. And not every industry suits like, a Facebook campaign or digital tactics like that. And actually face-to-face marketing is always a key tactic, I think, particularly when we're talking about niches. Getting face time with people in the industry that you're trying to sell to is something that will never get old. So I also asked Amanda about, the role that Xero, the Xero ecosystem has played and in her journey. And, what she was saying was that you really make use of that add-on ecosystem. So, Xero provides a really great, simple general ledger, but there's those add-ons that you can plug in. So for her niche, that is, she got practice management solutions for legal firms like Clio, or it could just be pieces of the functionality that those firms need. So one that she uses is MinuteDoc, which is a time tracking app. So we'll see this again, is that you've got Xero providing the ledger, and then these add-ons that provide that niche functionality. And that is important as you're going out to talk to business owners in a certain niche, is that you've got that kind of software stack that's going to meet their needs. Now, her advice to you guys as Xero partners about niching was like, don't stress about picking the right niche straight away. So, she says she sees this a lot, firms worrying about that, and I've seen that a lot as well. Firms picking a niche, don't really understand it, and they go after it really hard. But, she's saying just try and see what clients are a good fit and then scale from there. So, I would add to that, you can just pivot. It's not about saying, I'm going to niche my whole firm. It's about going, here's some marketing campaigns that we're going to run to a certain industry. And if that starts to work, that could become what you focus on more and more over time. So the next Xero partner we're going to look at is GoodBooks. Really good name for a firm here when you find out what they do. So their website, which Anthony's going to paste in the chat, is goodbooks.church. Can you guess what their niche is? So the firm is owned by Leanne Crockett, who's a retired CPA who now focuses on bookkeeping for churches. Now, being from the UK, the revenue of most churches I would have been in would have been like a plate passed around with people to put a few gold coins in. Very different situation in the States, where you've got mega churches. There's a huge kind of I don't know if industry is the right word, but it's a huge business, and she is an expert in that niche. So I asked her how she came to church accounting and how that became what she chose. And what she told me was she was working with a lot of different businesses at the time: travel agency, contractor, publisher, nonprofit, a bunch of other businesses. But then a church approached her and told her that they'd been embezzled. So this kind of really shocked her. And after some research, she found that this was actually a really common problem, but one that, for understandable reasons, a lot of churches didn't want to talk about. So she made up her mind to try and address those accounting needs of churches. And the three benefits she's found since doing that, since focusing on churches: the first one, she's become an expert in church accounting. And I think this is a key part of niching in general, is becoming that expert in your field. And what that also means is that between clients, she's not switching gears in her mind. I really understand that. Like I say, when I had a website and marketing agency that I worked with like a big skincare company, an e-commerce company, a public sector company, and their needs and everything about them was so different, so that when I switched between clients, it was really hard. And that's what Leanne's saying, this eradicates that for her. And she's also found that the networking, once she's got into this niche, is really incredible, and that's resulted in like word of mouth business and all of that kind of good stuff as well. Like Amanda from Aguilard Accounting, she also works with other businesses, but they're kind of related. So she works with nonprofits, secular and faith-based, but they have their similarities to her core niche, which is the church accounting. So in terms of the marketing tactics, I think she's done an awesome job. So that the first thing that she did was wrote a book on embezzlement in churches, and that's been a big door opener because it's positioned her as the expert. Now, what she's also done is actually reach out directly to organizations and associations of churches and approach the leadership there and told them about what she can do. So that's what I would call like outbound marketing. Some people might call that outreach, direct marketing. And that's one of the powers of choosing a niche, is that, doing general outbound, so you did like a cold calling campaign to all the businesses in your area, the response rate you're going to get from that is super low. But if you're emailing people and you really are an expert, and like Leanne, you've got a book that you can show them or something similar, how powerful is that? They're gonna listen to you, because that's not the kind of thing that they're gonna see every day. So it really puts outbound marketing into your kind of toolkit of marketing tools that's gonna work. She does some Facebook, LinkedIn, and email marketing as well, and also exhibits at conferences. So that events and face-to-face thing, always going to be important in accounting and bookkeeping. People will always buy from people. So if you can get FaceTime with your prospects, your clients, always going to be a tactic that works. So her advice to Xero Partners about niching is just to do it, right? She says cost effective, save the energy and time, and it really grew itself. It got a life of its own when she became part of that community. And she's done that with Xero. So, and she said that the Xero account managers have really helped her, to encourage her and kind of aided her in customizing Xero to meet the church's needs, because in the past, the nonprofit accounting was traditionally done through special fund accounting software. And one of the kind of features of that software was that it was very hard for the church leaders to use. And obviously what they can't see, that maybe increase the chances of them being embezzled or just not understanding their finances. So she's worked with Xero to find ways to make it work. It's really streamlined and efficient for church leadership teams. Give them oversight into the accounts rather than something that their bookkeeper just kind of had their hands on. So I wanted to jump out of the examples slightly, well, it's still an example, but show you something slightly different here and show you an example website. Because I know obviously the website is probably going to be the center of your marketing world for most of you. It's where you're going to put content, it's where you can direct marketing campaigns. So what does a niche website look like? I'm going to jump onto the website of one of BizInc's clients, Affluence Chartered Accountants, who are based in Perth, Western Australia. I think this is a really great example of a website that's focused on a niche, and I'll show you why I think that. So I'll jump in here. And so we can see the homepage here. And what I'd say here is this is like the look and feel of the website was the first thing that I wanted to show you. When your prospects or your clients land on the website, you want them to feel at home. That's how I describe it. You want them to feel at home. And I think this website does a really great job of that. So their target market is doctors and dental practices. They really focus on that, and the kind of the design, the branding, the imagery, it all speaks to that niche. And so does the content as well. So when we were writing the copy for affluence, we've obviously focused that very clearly on those markets that they go for. And, you can see not only are they niching along industry, there's the geographical side of it there. And the copy is all written in the tone that doctors and dentists would use, which might be very different than one of the next businesses that I'm going to show you. One of the next firms is their niche is food truck accounting. So probably the way a food truck owner speaks and writes pretty quite different than a doctor or a dentist. So the copy on your website should reflect who you're trying to talk to. There's also some search engine optimization on the website. Now, search engine optimization is an interesting one around niches because I don't think it's an important tactic when it comes to niche marketing, and I'll explain why. The thing is about, let's say doctors, they probably don't think that there are accountants out there that do, that specialize just in what they do. Probably church owners don't think that. They're not just going to go to Google and look for that. Now, you can see there's a disadvantage, but in a way, that's the power of the whole idea. When you go to them like, oh, wow, I didn't know you guys existed. You do, you work with businesses just like mine. So that kind of like, it's just two sides of one coin. They're probably not searching for you, but if you go to them, it's very powerful. Now, where search engine optimization might work is if you're solving a very specific problem for a niche. And I can think of one of our clients in the US who works with government contractors, and there's a certain form they have to fill in. I can't remember what it's called, like WAB12 section B or something, like some complex form they've got to fill in, and they help these government contractors do it. So, you could do some search engine optimization around a specific challenge. Perhaps that's something that people would search for. Final couple of things I'd show you about would be content. So this is what we would call a lead magnet, giving away here this tax guide for Australian dentists, one of the other niche markets this firm works with. What you're trying to do with a lead magnet, which is this form here, is to turn website visitors into leads. If people hit your website, you basically, they're not that likely to contact you. That isn't because they're not interested in what you do. It's just that most people visiting accounting and bookkeeping websites are in what I like to call research mode. They're not necessarily ready to engage you right then. But if they go away, they probably won't come back. So what you want to do while you've got their attention is kind of take a smaller step than them trying to get in touch with you. Give them something valuable for free. You get their details. They get something valuable in return, and you can then follow them up at a later date. We do it on our sites with automated emails, but the key is trying to turn those website visitors into leads. And obviously with a niche, you create something that's very specific to them. And extending the content piece, what these guys have done, they're writing blog posts specific to this market as well. And you can see here, they've got things like the dental business resources, the medical business resources as well. So curated content, specific content for the niche as well. All of those things come together to create a lead generating website that really speaks to your target market, and is really going to help you succeed there. Just flicking back onto the slides. I mentioned food truck accounting. So this is a really cool firm based in Nashville, Tennessee. And you can have a look at the link to their landing page for food truck accounting in the chat. So food truck accounting is a division of Bean Counter for Hire, a firm run by Michael and Mindy. And Michael was kind enough to tell me about his niching journey with food truck accounting. So it's a really kind of cool story behind this, why they kind of attacked this niche. And Michael and Mindy are both from Southern California, and food truck culture is very prominent there. They absolutely love food trucks. Now, again, this is going to really show that the importance of working something you're passionate about. If you're going to pick a niche, it should be something you're really passionate about, because that will come through in your marketing. So they were kind of seeing this development of food trucks, now a big thing, right, in lots of different countries. But, you know, from these kind of old school burrito or taco vans, and now you've got these kind of big gourmet food trucks that have got incredible branding. So before setting up Bean Counter for Hire, Michael was working for a tech company in San Diego, and every Thursday they had what they called Food Truck Thursday, and the company invited all the families to come out and have lunch with them. And Michael and his wife Mindy enjoyed that so much, because at the time they had little kids, and it was actually like the closest they could get to having a date at that time. So they were chatting to the food truck owners, getting to know them. They'd ask them how they got started, like what was working for them, what were the challenges. So over time, they started to develop this real strong sense of, you know, what made these businesses tick. So, you know, once they got Bean Counter for Hire up and running, they thought this is an awesome niche to go after. You know, how could they help them? So, you know, beyond just the kind of the bookkeeping, they really understood these challenges that these business owners had, and came up with food truck accounting. So, you know, this wasn't just about being passionate for something, but it was also about having that expert understanding of what these businesses did. You know, passion is great, but you've also got to have the skills, you know, specific skills to go with that as well. So I asked Michael, you know, what were 3 benefits of focusing on this food truck niche? And, you know, he said, like, you become an expert, right? You know, when you've got that focus, you can really, you can kind of convey that in your marketing, and you know, that makes it way easier to do your branding, your content. You know, you get this reputation of being the best of what you do. So all of those things that, you know, we're seeing these themes. It's what Amanda said. It's what Leanne said. Becoming an expert, it creates efficiencies. It creates stronger messaging. These are all the benefits that these firms are finding. And again, they're not limited to working with food trucks. As I mentioned, food truck accounting is a division of their main firm. But again, there's kind of like a bit of a crossover between the food truck stuff and their other clientele, which are, you know, what they describe as micro businesses, you know, small businesses in all industries, typically earning less than 5 million in annual revenue, and often really small ones like side hustle type businesses that bring in kind of like, say, 60 grand a year selling stuff on like Amazon, that kind of thing, or like small barbershops, professional service providers. So again, you know, we've got that the main niche, but there's that doesn't exclusively kind of define what the firm does, but there is some crossover. So in terms of the tactics, they tried lots of different things over time. They actually get 99% of their clients coming through from the Xero Advisor directory. So, you know, that's something to have a think about there is, you know, have you got a good optimized page from the Xero Advisor directory? These guys actually outsource their website and monthly marketing to us. So we do things like social media posts for them, some of which have this niche focus to them. Now, I asked Michael, you know, what's his advice to you guys about niching? And, you know, he said, like, don't just pick something that you know. It should be something that gets you really fired up, with his words. You know, something that gets you really excited when you wake up every day. You can genuinely feel you can make a difference. You know, and I'm not just saying this to make you feel good, but we love working with accountants and bookkeepers. You know, it's an awesome niche for us to work in. I love it that, you know, we picked it because we're passionate about it, and that's what I'm recommending for you to do in your own marketing. So there's some real examples of firms who've done that. I also want to talk about the help that you can get from Xero. So a couple of things I would mention. We created a course for Xero, which is on Xero Central. So we'll paste the link in the chat. I've had a few people say this link doesn't work, and I think it's something to do with internationalization. So it depends where you're connecting from. But basically, if you go to Xero Central and search for how to market your Xero firm, so search how to market your Xero firm. If that link doesn't work, you'll see this free course that we created for Xero, and there's a lot of good content in that course on how to find your ideal prospect, how to niche your marketing. So yeah, if the niche plays up, just if the link plays up, just search how to market your Xero firm. And we'll send these links out in an email after the session as well. So the other thing I'd encourage you to have a look at, if you've not seen these already, if you go to the Xero website, so again, this depends on which country you're in, so I'm not going to put a link there, but if you go to the Xero website and then click on Why Xero, and then click on For Your Business Type, and you will see there's all these different guides to different industries. So for example, things like e-commerce, legal, construction. And what they show is like the key Xero features that will appeal to those industries, plus a few of the ecosystem apps that will combine and give that kind of vertical functionality to the horizontal functionality of Xero. So take a look in there as well. And, of course, a lot of our clients get a lot of help from their account managers as well. They're really helpful in helping them do marketing. So always reach out to your account manager as well. So before I summarize today's session and then stick around for a Q&A, so if you've got any questions for me, use the question panel and I will answer those for you. I'm really excited to tell you about marketing for Xero Partners. So what that is it's a website and it's a Facebook community. So since 2013, we've helped several hundred Xero partners with their websites and marketing at BizInc. And we've got a lot from that Xero community, and marketing for Xero Partners is about us giving back to you guys in that community. So on the website, which you'll see the link in the chat, you're going to find some free resources to help you with marketing. So we've got things like a new Xero marketing audit in there. Every month, we're going to be running free webinars like this one on different Xero marketing topics. And we're going to be launching a weekly tips newsletter from next week as well. So the website is just like a placeholder that you can go to, all of that content and all that good stuff that we'll be giving away there. But I think the heart of it's going to be the Facebook community. So you'll see the link there. Please join that. We'll approve you if you come in, and we want that to be a place where you can ask for help with marketing or help others with marketing. Share those tips. I know the Xero community is so good. You guys help each other so much, and that's what we want this community to do. Just very focused around marketing. So hopefully we're going to see you in there like later today, in the next week. We'll send out those links, but we're really excited to launch Marketing for Xero Partners today, and hope that's something that is going to be really valuable to you. But go in there and you can let us know now in the chat or whatever, but what would you like to see as well? Like, go in the Facebook group, and we will do our best to create content around that for you. So summing up to today's session, I'm going to stick around for Q&A at the end, but to sum up today's session, what are the benefits of a marketing niche? So number one for me is focus. You can stop that scattergun approach, stop marketing to everybody, and in other words, marketing to nobody, and really focus on building a firm around the prospects you want to work with. And once you do that, you have much stronger appeal. You become a specialist rather than a generalist. We'd all rather work with a specialist, right? And so you can be that person in your niche. So I'd like to copy here Amanda's formula, you know, efficiency and workflow plus higher fees equals bigger margins. You know, that alone to me says why you should niche your marketing. It speaks for itself. And finally, for me, the prospect map. So, you know, we call it the prospect map at Biz Inc. What we really mean is, you know, where are your prospects? As soon as you pick a certain industry, you can start. It's so much easier to find out where to contact people. You can work out, you know, where they are on social media. You can work out which events they go to. You can see industry directories. It really answers a lot of questions for you. So how to choose your niche? You heard some cool stories from some of the example firms about how they did it. The thread through all of those is pick something you're passionate about. Now, it helps if you've got maybe a client in that niche or past experience in it, but it's not essential. But I think doing that research and building up some of those skills is worthwhile. You know, that's what Amanda did. She had that one legal client, but then she went away and researched legal and trust accounting, so she became an expert. But, you know, again, a couple of people said that, you know, just don't overthink it. If you're just running like a marketing campaign to a certain industry, you know, there's no harm in doing that. It might not, you know, work out how you want, but don't overthink it. Like Amanda said, like just get into it. You know, you can always pivot and do something different. So a question we often get asked, what about other industries? What about clients who are, you know, not in that niche? Niche your marketing, not your firm. Said it several times, but that's, you know, that's all I believe in. You might end up niching your whole firm at some point. It doesn't matter, but it's really important to have focus in your marketing. So, you know, I think if you're getting clients in other areas, particularly if you get new clients, then, you know, are they similar to that main kind of strict niche that you've got? That's going to help, isn't it? Because there's crossover benefits of, do they want similar kinds of things? You know, can you use the experience you've got from one to cross over to the other? But, you know, if you get referrals from referrals to clients in other areas, it's totally fine, right? You know, I don't see referrals as marketing. They're basically a result of good service. You know, marketing is something you do. Referrals are something that, you know, come to you. So I don't see them as marketing as such. You know, they're always going to come in if you're doing a good job for people. You can choose to accept or reject, you know, obviously any business that comes to work with you, whether it fits with, you know, your niche or just fits you kind of the type of business that you want to work with. In terms of where Xero fits into all of this, you know, I think the Xero plus the add-ons is the ideal recipe for niche marketing. So, you know, Xero's got that horizontal ledger functionality. Add-ons provide the vertical functionality. And those business guides that I mentioned, you know, they're really good for sort of looking through that kind of recipe, that kind of mix of Xero plus add-ons. I also think that, you know, a prospect is more likely to change software for a niche solution. So what I mean here is, say you're wanting to, you know, get all your clients on Xero or all the people who are new clients. If you present them with a specialist solution, then I think that's much more likely than them saying, well, I'll just stick with what I know. You're going, you should move to this because it's better, because it's completely focused on what you do. And the final thing is just, you know, get that marketing help from Xero, check out that course. And like I said, the account managers are super helpful. Leanne at Good Books, you know, she had a lot of help from the Xero team in sort of getting Xero really kind of optimized for her niche of churches. So the final piece of advice that all the firms that we talked to said when it came to niching your marketing, like Nike, just do it. None of them have looked back once they niche their marketing, and I know you won't if you do the same. So who feels confident that they could do some niche marketing after this session? Or type yes or no into the chat. Be really, really keen to know that. I hope you've learned enough to get started, but I'm going to stick around to answer, your questions. Like if you have to go now, thanks for coming along. I hope to see you in that Marketing for Xero Partners group soon. It's good. Everyone's saying yes. No one said no yet. But yeah, I am going to stick around for your questions. So, if you want any help with Xero marketing, we'll launch a quick poll and you can just tell us if you want someone from BizInc to contact you, and we can tell you about what we do in terms of helping Xero Partners with marketing. You can drop us an email there, and there's the links for Marketing for Xero Partners, both the website and the Facebook group. But yeah, I'm going to invite Anthea back onto the session and we'll answer your questions.
Thanks, Matt. That was great. I've seen a few questions come through, but if anybody has any more, just chuck them in the Q&A section now. The first one we've got here is, sorry, they're just jumping around on my screen as new stuff comes in. But
that's all right.
How do you build a website for a niche market when it's quite a small market?
I think the same way you build it for if you've got a big market, I guess you probably, you've just got to ask yourself, is a really small market worth going after? I don't know, the whole purpose of niching is to sort of narrow the focus. But I think the principles of any website are the same. You should, talk to your ideal customers' pain points, write in language that feels comfortable for them, put a lead magnet on there so you're turning visitors into leads, make the content, you create that kind of expert content around those challenges that industry faces. All of those things, whether it's a small or large market, I think they translate across size.
Awesome. Yeah, great tips. Stacey's asking, what about if we niche not on an industry, but by attitudes we want our clients to have?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I do get asked that quite a lot. So the difficulty with that is, how do you appeal to those people? So I'd go back to the prospect map bit. So let's say we pick law firms, just going to pick that as an example. I can find a list of, every law firm in New Zealand pretty easily, right? I can find their websites and all of that. How do you find people by their attitude? That's the tricky part, right? It's kind of like you only know until you talk to them. So that would be what I'd say, is like makes the prospect map bit harder, and it makes the messaging bit a bit harder as well. So I think the benefit of niching your marketing to, say, an industry is you can do all that stuff. You know exactly where they are. You still got to think about that attitude piece anyway, because not all people in that industry might be suitable for you. And then I'd say, when you're getting things like referrals and all of that, I'd be like, running that test of, is the attitude right? But I get that, but it's just a really hard one to market to, is what I would say. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I also see another one here from Jason, just asking, what if we don't have any skills in one particular industry?
Yeah, so this is something we get asked a bit, is like, I'm struggling to pick a niche, and this is why we try to include that information on, why there's different example firms, how they came to it. And I think that it's important to it's important to at least do some research before you jump into it. So like the passion part is important, like everybody said, but do you have skills in that? Do you have skills there? Do you feel like that's even like a profitable thing that you'd want to work with? So I don't know, like you might love rock music, but would you want to be an accountant for rock bands? Like maybe not, like it might not be the best industry to go after. So the passion part, but then if you don't necessarily have skills, I think those things can be learned, and often understanding a certain industry's pain points, at least on a level where you could pick a couple and start marketing to them shouldn't be that hard, right? You know, like we can all take a guess at some of those things and a bit of research. But yeah, I think it helps if you've got, you know, you've got a client in that area already. Maybe use something like the Facebook group that we're launching and ask those questions. I think that's the exact type of thing that we're trying to use that group for, is so people can, you know, ask for help or share their views as well.
Yeah, I'd just add to that as well. There's a few people here in the chat replying yes, that they feel confident, you know, from this webinar, found it helpful and encouraging now to go out and do some niche marketing. We'd love to hear how you get along. That group's the perfect place for that, and we can keep chatting there as well.
Cool.
I've seen another question, more just O'Neill's curious what BizInc stands for and if there's anything to the company name. I don't think I've asked you this before either.
Yeah, so Biz Inc. stands for, so Biz Inc., like Business Incorporated, right? It's like a play on that. And ink as in like ink, pen, content, because we do a lot of content. It's pretty contrived, right? But you try finding good domain names these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's a bit like, I don't know, Xero, what does it mean? And I saw an interesting post from Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V as people know him, yesterday. And you know, he was saying, don't stress too much about a business name, which funny enough, I'm talking to a couple of firms about at the moment, and I know a lot of firms do stress about it, right? But actually, this is what I believe is a good business makes the name good. So I think I was talking to you about this, wasn't I, last weekend? He was like, you know, like, so take a band name like the Beatles. Is the Beatles a good name? I don't know. I don't think it is actually, but they're just a very good band. So the name becomes good because the band was good. And you know what I mean? It's like, is Xero a good name? But yeah, it is. But kind of imagine if they weren't a very good business, you'd think it's not a good name, you know? So I think, yeah, that's a long-winded answer to what Biz Inc. But I tried to give a bit of branding information there. But yeah, I think business names is a tough one. I think, you know, your brand is so much more than the name as well, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. So
I actually had a similar chat yesterday to a fellow here in Australia as well, who I think's on the webinar as well. Similar kind of chat. Is the name good? Is it not? We're looking at the website, the logo in the top left corner, that sort of thing. But you know, there's heaps of other things you can do on a website to support that, you know, with team images and things like that. I'm getting off track here as well, but you know, it's so much more than just the name, like you said.
There's kind of like two kinds of names, right? Like there's like Biz Inc. or Xero, sort of in that kind of made up word type, you know, Nike type, you know, and then you got ones like food truck accounting, right? So they've all got pros and cons, you know. It's like food truck or marketing for Xero Partners, you know. It's like, what does it do? Well, yeah, go figure. But yeah, I think I think it's one of those things you can stress too much about, and it's best to focus on building a really good business.
For sure. Yeah, well, that's all the questions I can see. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, that just leaves me to say thank you to all of you for coming along. Thanks to all of the firms who provided information for the session today. That was really helpful. And like I say, Marketing for Xero Partners, please check out the website and group. We'd love to see you in there, and we'll have another webinar for you next month. So I will wrap things up there. Enjoy the rest of your day.